Hello, I'm Nilu, your host with Beyond the Pour. I'm a sommelier in Sonoma County. And today on Beyond the Pour, I have an amazing beer connoisseur. His name is Allo Gilinsky. Welcome, Allo. How are
Hi,
you?
Nilu. Thank you so much.
You're in Sonoma County, correct? You're
Correct.
close to me.
I'm in Sebastopol, where I grew up.
Yeah, that's about what, 10 minutes away from me. Very nice ice cream place there. What's it called? Mimi's or something?
Screaming Mimis. It's
Oh
always
my
busy.
God.
I never see it empty.
I tell you, I remember just the kids, we would every time we went through Sebastopol, we'd stop there and have an ice cream. We loved it. We still do if we are over there. Well, welcome. So this is Beyond the Pour, as I said. Um, Anytime I get to find some cool people to talk about what they do, it doesn't have to be Sonoma County, of course, but it gets more exciting if it is. We get to chat about, what's happening in the area, and learn from you, basically. And so you have your business is called Craft Beer Concierge, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And not what the most important thing is that you're a certified Cicerone,
Correct.
uh, which in the beer world, you guys, is being like a certified sommelier. Um, Incredible. Welcome. I want to hear a little bit about your business to start off, and then I have some fun questions for you.
Right on. Well, my business, the Craft Beer Concierge, is an events and consulting business. It's kind of anything and everything I can make it. So the idea started based on a presence, an Instagram presence, a social media presence I built for myself 7 years ago as the Craft Beer Concierge. And then about 2.5 years ago, it took on a life of its own as its own small business, thinking, what can I do to support local breweries and dig into the economy and get people out there drinking beer? And so, what if I went to a tap room and said, hey, I'd love to bring people in for beer education forward, kind of edutainment is what I call it.
Oh my God. I think I told you last time. I think that it's like me looking in the mirror, apart from the beard. We we do so many similar things. I do with wine and different things, but you do exactly the same thing with beer. You're educating people, you're making it fun, and you're bringing it out there, whether it's at the breweries or events or virtual as well, right? You do virtual, some you've got a academy going on, I think.
Correct. So I started last fall this virtual beer academy called the Golden Key Beer Academy, which was my way of kind of getting people involved and learning more about beer, whether they're on a path of Cicerone or WSET education, or they're just beer enthusiasts out there looking to enhance their beer vocabulary and learn more about beer styles, kind of in a community and hive mind environment.
Love that. And there is a lot going on in Sonoma County this month for beer, so we'll talk about that in a second. But where did you come up with the name Craft Beer Concierge?
Well, my first professional stint was as a concierge at a hotel. I have worked in hotels for 6 years in my mid to late 20s. And I thought to myself, well, I am a concierge. And as a concierge, I was working long hours. I'd actually started this profile called the Craft Beer Kitchen. But when you work in hospitality, you don't have a lot of time free to be making extravagant meals and pairing them with beer and doing all the fun things surrounding that. So I thought, well, why not become the craft beer concierge and kind of expand beyond just food and beer to go explore breweries, to also mix and mingle with people virtually and in person, hopefully, as I started my journey towards Cicerone. So that's kind of where it evolved from almost 7 years ago. It was mid-February in 2018 or 2019, excuse me.
Wow, that's a long time. And you've been not only in Sonoma County, you've been you said Boston,
I've
or
lived in
you were,
Boston. I lived in Boston for
yeah.
a decade, and I've also lived in San
Mhm.
Diego for a year and a half. And San Diego is kind of where I got my beer education start.
Of course, with all those breweries, it's impossible not to fall in love with beer. And have you ever converted a person that says, I don't really like beer into a beer drinker?
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do. So
You just keep giving them beer,
when I
right?
was living in Boston, I had my own beer tour business where I brought people on in a van and a bus to different breweries. And oftentimes the person booking the tour for a friend or loved one's birthday or a Christmas present, they maybe weren't the beer enthusiast. They were the wine enthusiast or the spirits enthusiast booking this experience for somebody who really loved beer. So they'd come along for the ride and said, well, what am I going to drink? And I said, here's how I do it. Is I say, well, what do you like? You have to start with what people's flavor preferences and spirit preferences are. What flavor profiles do you like? Are you a wine person? Are you a whiskey person? And then take it from there. A lot of people don't know that there are beers brewed out there with champagne yeast. So if you like champagne or sparkling wine, you might like a Goza or a Saison.
Yeah. I mean, again, Sonoma County is known for wine. We're Sonoma County, Napa County. How does craft beer fit into this culture?
Well, I actually wrote a blog article about 7 years ago that was basically saying Sonoma County is beer country as much as it's wine country. I mean, there are a glut of breweries from Santa Rosa to Windsor to Petaluma to Roanoke Park. There's beer everywhere. And I think it also ties into the fact that we are an agricultural first county here. You have great grain being grown, you have great hops, there's great water sources. And that makes it a prime playground for brewers to kind of set up shop and embody the culture. I mean, Sonoma County is kind of a foodie, a wine lover's paradise. And so why not bring beer into the mix?
Now, when you see couples around, do you notice that the guy wants to do the beer tasting and maybe the girlfriend or the wife wants to do wine tasting, or do they both do the same thing?
I think everybody's curious. I wouldn't put it as gender specific as guys are into beer, women are into wine. I think, again, as long as somebody who's behind the bar or on the other side providing the experience, providing the hospitality, can relate to those people and find the commonalities with what they like, anything, or at least want to try it once. You know, when I was doing my tours, I told people you don't have to go buy a 6-pack of it. You don't have to have the full pint, but maybe you'll appreciate a 4-ounce taste, just here and now, because you're trying something new and you're open-minded. And often people who are wine tasting, beer tasting, going for these experiences are open-minded. The people who aren't are the ones who are sitting at home buying their favorite thing on repeat.
Maybe through Amazon. No, I'm joking. So you also host. I love having you on here. But you also host your own podcast, and it's called "This Must Be the Place." Where does that name come from?
So that is, in one way, the name of a Talking Heads song, which is a famous song that my co-producer Sarah Heyman and I decided to name the podcast, celebrating Sonoma County and all the rich events that go on here.
Okay.
So outside of a couple small media sources, there aren't a lot of places to find events, at least do a deep dive on them, and to encourage people to get out there and celebrate Sonoma County.
So you're really focusing on talking about what's going on in Sonoma County. It doesn't just have to be beer, I'm presuming. You talk about everything.
No. This is a broad. This is everything in Sonoma County. We've talked about events at museums, film screenings, concerts, theater, beer festivals. Yes, I do a segment at the end of each podcast called Crack One Open, where I do try to find a local beer and tie it into the segment that we've just talked about.
Love it. Now, tell me, for the month of February, there's some cool things going on with beer in Santa Rosa specifically. Can you tell us what's going on so everybody knows?
Yeah, so this is actually the 10th anniversary of what's called February, B-R-E-W. They've turned it into a pun, which is one of my favorite forms of wordplay. February is a month-long campaign done by Visit Santa Rosa and the Chamber of Commerce to get people out there supporting local beer, local breweries, especially after dry January, which is a really tough time on the economy all around in hospitality, but especially the alcohol industry. So people are encouraged to go sign up for the Beer Passport, where they can get a stamp at each brewery that's participating. And there's also a shuttle that runs around from the Smart Train stations, 2 different breweries in Santa Rosa and Windsor.
2 questions for you. Where do they get that passport from? And does it cost anything?
Passport is completely free. It's a digital passport. You can actually add it right to your phone home screen now. You can go on to Visit Santa Rosa's social media or website, and they should be able to direct you to download the Beer Passport right onto your phone. And then you just go to each brewery. It's like a geotag. You geotag that you're there, buy a pint, check in. And then if you visit all 10 locations, you get a pretty cool medal that's also doubles as a bottle opener.
Wow. And then you said there's shuttles leaving from where the Smart Train is. I'm thinking Railroad Square, Santa Rosa downtown. And you had told me every Saturday that's happening and it's free, which is bizarre.
That's correct. They've synced up with Smart Train to also adhere to the Smart Train schedules. So you take a Smart Train up to Santa Rosa. I also believe it picks up in Windsor, but don't quote me on that. And so they'll run, I think, every hour from Railroad Square and drop you off at 7 or 8 different breweries between Santa Rosa They loop over through downtown. They go over to Hen House. They go up to Windsor to Russian River and Couvert. So it's a shuttle every Saturday in February from about 11 a.m. to about 7 p.m.
My gosh. Now, are you going to be on that?
I'm going to be on that this Saturday, definitely February 7th. I'm going to take one of the inaugural rides, and then we'll see what the rest of the month holds.
Okay, okay. Well, I may visit you on one of those. I don't know about this Saturday, but maybe the following one. And we can come and hang and talk all things beer and wine, I guess. That'd be fun to do. I'd
That'd
love
be a
to do
lot of
that.
fun.
That'd be a lot of, answer all the wine questions you've got, just or beer questions. We're there. If someone's visiting Sonoma County for just one weekend, what's your perfect beer focused itinerary for them?
That's a tough one because there's so much good beer here. I mean, if it's their very time in Sonoma County, I think you need to visit some of the OGs. And some of the OGs have changed in their model. I know Lagunitas has gone through some stuff, but I would say you have to visit Lagunitas, you have to visit Russian River, the pub or the brewery, and you have to visit Moonlight Brewing. Moonlight is one of the OGs that often doesn't get as much attention.
Right. Where is Moonlight? I actually don't know about that one.
Moonlight Brewing is over in Coffee Park in Santa Rosa.
Now, are these small breweries or are they like larger ones like Russian River Brewing Company's got that big one now in Windsor?
Yeah, so I mean, some of these breweries' spaces are separate from their production. So while they may be larger breweries, their tap room spaces, like Moonlight's tap room space, is fairly small, but they are a fairly large production brewery. So, and they've been cranking out great beers for over 30 years. And then you have all the ones in downtown Santa Rosa and on the other borders of Santa Rosa as well.
Nice, nice. Now, so if someone wanted to hire you for the day, would you be able to go with them and take them to all the cool places, do like a brewery tour with them?
I don't see why not. I think that'd be a fun idea.
I'm creating business for you, whether you like it or not. One of the things I like to ask people is if you had, if you were going to pick one song that really represents your business, Craft Beer Concierge, can you think of a song?
That is such a fun question. And I wish I was better prepared with an answer for you, because I think as an entrepreneur, as the Craft Beer Concierge, I wear so many different hats that I think a song would have to fit each mood, whether it's a pairing experience or a consulting project or an educational event with a brewery. I guess I'd have to come up with a better answer for you here, and I might have to have some time to think on that.
Okay, cool. That makes sense, of course, but I need a song from you somewhere down the road. So just think about it. In the next couple of weeks, I'll ask you. If you could pick one person that you, dead or alive, that you're like, you know what? I would love to sit down with this person and have a beer. And who would it be and what kind of beer would it be? Is my question.
I would have to sit down with Rob Todd, the founder of Allagash Brewing. I think that would be Allagash was the beer that got me into beer. Allagash White. I have a little backstory there if you'll entertain it.
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear it.
So Allagash White is a beer that's after my own heart, because I grew up in Northern California hating beers like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Pliny the Elder. Don't at me, anybody, but those two beers, which are kind of founding beers of California, as a 19-year-old drinking beer, 20-year-old drinking beer, I didn't like. And so I sought out beers like Hoegaarden and Blue Moon. And when I got to the bar hopping age of 21, I went to Toronado Beer Bar in San Francisco and said, hey, what can you give me that's like a Hoegaarden or a Blue Moon? And it was Allagash White. And at the time, it was also, $4 a pint, which for a 21-year-old, you can have a nice night on a $20 bill drinking Allagash White. And it opened my eyes to the role that yeast plays in beer and how Belgian beers work. And so Allagash White is kind of the core beer of my start of the beer exploration journey. And so to be able to honor that and sit down with Rob Todd and have an Allagash White with him, I think there'd be nothing better.
That's so cool, because that really is what got you into learning more about beer, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. It opened my eyes. As I said, I knew beer to either be Miller, Coors, Heineken stuff, or this hoppy kind of malty, piney thing that at the time I didn't like. However, I've wizened in my older age, and I enjoy those beers a lot now. So your palate does change.
It does change. You're right. If you're in San Diego, because you told me you lived there for a year, I go to San Diego a lot. I love it. over there. What's your favorite brewery? I mean, that you really think is fun and cool. And I know
You
there's
can't
lots of
just
beer.
do one. Oh, it's so hard.
I know.
Pure Project is
Project.
fantastic. They've
Yeah,
been making great beer. They just celebrated their 10th anniversary. Pure
yeah.
Project Brewing is great. They have different locations spread throughout San Diego, so you get a little bit of a different flavor at each tap room. North Park Beer Company is one that was my
Mm-hmm.
local when I lived in North Park. They've been around for a handful of years, just about 7, 8 years now, and making really
Hmm.
fantastic beers from hazy IPAs all the way down to lagers. And they even make a Scottish ale, which is a rare style to see, especially in San
Wow.
Diego. So those two
Yeah.
are up there, but there's just so many good ones.
I love it. I know that I put you on the spot there. It's hard to, especially a place like San Diego that's got somebody told me over 150 breweries. Is that correct?
Something like when I was there in 2018, 2019, I think there were 220 breweries in the county or
Oh
something
my
like
gosh.
that.
So it's way more. Okay, I'm totally off then.
No, I think it may have contracted. I mean, the beer industry's gone through a little bit of a turmoil the last 5 years, so that may be down to 150, 160, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I love that they're doing stuff. Now, when it comes to food and pairing wine and food, I get really excited. Um, can you do you think you can pair beer with food? And can you give us some examples
Oh,
to play with?
100%. See, these are what most of my activities, my experiences are beer and food pairing events. So cheese, chocolate. I tend to bring shelf stable things because you can't really do hot food at a brewery if it's not in your, working with a food truck. So I tend to come into a brewery with shelf stable items like cheese, chocolate, cookies, because I don't think people realize that beer works with food as well as it does. Wine and food get a lot of the love, but beer has two things that wine don't have. And I'm sure you can play with me on this, Nilo.
100%. And um, I honestly on a warm day, hot day, I ain't gonna drink a glass of red wine. I tell you,
Sure.
I'll go for a cold beer. And wine, you have a lot to play with. I still need to learn more about the beer pairing from you. I do have a level 1 beer cicerone, but I don't have obviously the knowledge that you do. But yeah, it's great. I want to learn more about that, and hopefully we can do some events together, where we're bringing that to the table, where it's wine and food, or beer and food, and kind of just give people some ideas of what they could do with that, right?
Yeah, because
Um,
beer has carbonation and beer
yeah,
also has varying alcohol levels, which I think are fascinating to play with. Wine
yeah,
is a lot of that 9 to 12% range. Beer has low alcohol as low as 3%. And the
yeah.
carbonation really plays a factor as well.
Right, right. And if it's more carbonated, like you said, has that hoppy thing, it's gonna make you feel more full, right? So if
Well,
you
nothing. I wouldn't
no,
necessarily hoppy. I don't think hoppy has anything to do with it. Carbonation and
yeah,
hoppiness are two different things.
yeah,
So you have
yeah,
carbonation in beer that's high levels, and that's going to cleanse your palate a lot easier. So
gotcha.
if you're having these rich foods or you're having these spicy foods, you want something nice and carbonated. And if you're having something that's a heavier stew or soup or big, crock pot meal, you want something that's a little bit more malty, a little bit more depth of flavor to match up with that. You have to match intensities.
Got it, got it. Okay. Now, Allo, where can people find you if they want to book an experience? Do they jump on the Craft Beer Concierge?
So you can go to my Instagram at Craft Beer Concierge, or you can go to my website, which is www.thecraftbeerconcierge.com. Those are the two easiest ways to find me.
Love it, love it. Well, I really appreciate you coming on Beyond the Pour and chatting with me. And I think that people just found their expert in beer, right? This is where
Absolutely.
we're
This
gonna
was a lot
go.
of fun.
Thank you so much for joining. And for all our listeners, California Tastings creates experiences, and you can find all our menu of services at the top of our link in the bio. Join us at Beyond the Pour. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready for a hands-on experience, check out the menu of services in our link on our Instagram page. We are creating experiences one sip at a time. See you soon.